Welcome to another edition of Community Matters. I'm Jim Cameron, your host and the program director of Darien TV. And you, as a faithful viewer, know what this program's all about. We get a chance to talk to some of the organizations in Darien that make such a difference in making Darien such a great place to live. The Darien Foundation, maybe you've heard of them. We have two of their principals involved with us today. On the left is Ward Glassmeyer, who is the chairman of the foundation, and on the right, Sarah Woodberry, who is the executive director. Welcome to Community Matters.
Thank you for having us.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Full disclosure, I should let our viewers know that Darien TV has been the recipient of any number of grants from the Darien Foundation for equipment. I actually was going over the list. You bought us a new computer. You bought us a flat screen TV. You bought us some new TV cameras. You helped build our website, and most importantly, you provided funds to buy our server that programs and records this program and all the shows that you see on Darien TV. So we would not exist if it were not for the Darien Foundation. So thank you very much. But that's not the reason you're on the show today. We can say thank you. We really want to let you talk a little bit about the good works of the foundation. But first, let's talk about your own backgrounds. Sarah, what's your professional background, and how did you get involved with the Darien Foundation?
so I have sort of like a magazine publishing background, and then that went into the internet. But I think the role I've always had was sort of like either sort of project manager or editor in chief typey, where you're dealing with advertising one day, the next day you're doing editing, the next day. So it's kind of that kind of project managery. So it was actually good training for an ED. I think most EDs will tell you that there's a little bit of everything on the radar. And luckily, I have a really great board with experts in the different matters so that I have point people and then people can help advise and that sort of thing. But
And you lived in Darien for a few years?
yes, I've been here for over 10 years now. So
Wonderful. And Ward, your background.
Yeah, so my background is I've been at the same firm for over 28 years now. I'm in the finance business, like a lot of other people in town. And I was born and bred in Darien, which I think was a nice fit for the Darien Foundation. And it was one of my business school classmates, Jen Foster, who brought me to a cocktail event in late 2021. And then I joined in, I said 2020, in late 2001. How about that? And then I joined in 2002. So I've been here for almost 23 years, or
And
20.
are you Penny Glassmeyer's son?
I am. I am.
Thank you. Thank you, Penny, for all you've done for this town as well, too. We miss her terribly. Well, let's start with some basics, which is the Darien Foundation didn't start under that name. It was first known as the Darien Technology Foundation. How did it get started, and what was its purpose?
I'll give that a whirl. So it was Richard and Maureen Chilton, and they saw this interesting need, right? The Darien school system obviously is a vibrant and wonderful school system, but they didn't have all the technology. As technology was involved, evolving in the late 90s, they saw this ability maybe to work with the town of Darien to get more technology into the school system. And then that broadened out, obviously, to technology going to other organizations. And I know we'll talk a little bit about our transition to a bigger focus later on, but that's really how it got started. And that was in the late 90s. So the Darien Foundation's been around a long time.
I remember back in the late 90s, the school system was looking for people to donate their used computers. And if you went down into any one of the classrooms of the libraries, there was just a mishmash, Dell over here and Compaq over here. And they were all, hand-me-downs, but you really changed the landscape, and you really brought a lot of consistent technology into the school system. So that was a very important role that you guys played. But you expanded beyond that as well too. Um, why did you change your name? And what are you doing beyond just the technology investments?
Yeah, why don't I start since I was there for that? So what was great, obviously, is we made a lot of inroads. I think did a lot of great things that were technology focused. But I think as we got branded as just a technology outfit or a group that was helping with technology needs, we were getting more and more requests and more interest around things that weren't necessarily just technology. They were more capital related, and we felt like we could help more people. I'd say it was a combination of the requests, a combination of the board, looking to do more, and then obviously we had some amazing donors, which would give us that ability to broaden our scope. And so, that changed around that kind of 2005, 6, 7 era. We started to do more of these, capital grants, and, it's been full speed ahead ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we haven't lost. What's neat is we have some real technology experts on our board. We always have. So we haven't lost that edge in tech, and we love doing cutting edge. We love to do cutting edge projects, but I think the ability to do more was really helpful, really, to the town of Darien and to us, right? We could do more, and the town would receive more.
The technology side, I mean, the thing that people maybe are most familiar with is the video backdrop at the Darien High School auditorium, which is being put to use by the orchestra, by all the student productions, etc. That was a $300,000 plus investment. Is that a big ask for the foundation to be considering?
That was a big ask. And I will say that when they first came to us, we had them come back twice. The first time they came, we said, we're interested, but we have all these questions. And part of our process is that when someone comes to us with an idea, we form a committee, and then they kind of go back and forth with the committee. So I think they came to us maybe in April, and we had back and forth and back and forth. And then they came back again with with much more detail and a little bit more due diligence. And that was like in November. So it was a sort of 6 months before we got to the point where we approved that. And I think one of the questions that the board really wanted to know the answer is we were not going to just fund like a jumbotron. So it really is a teaching tool, and that it can be accessed by any student's or teacher's laptop, and that it would be incorporated in so many ways. Like we got a lot of notes from middle school parents last year because it was used for the middle school graduation. So you could see your student, going up on stage no matter where you sat in class. And it's great to see. I know it's used by the design kids and design graphics different collaborations. And some of the teachers using it in class, and they also have introduced a new STEM theater course, which is like STEM theater technology, which counts as like a STEM credit for like college, distributions or whatever your electives are. And so we're excited about the fact that it really had a big, strong element of the curriculum. And yeah, that's an exciting grant. It's a fun grant. So
what are some examples of some of the other grants that you've made over the years that did not necessarily involve technology?
Well, I think Ward can talk about the Playground by the Sound, which that was like the big switch. I think one of the first big non-tech grants, right?
Yeah, and the Playground by the Sound was interesting because it was a handful of women in town that got together to basically enhance Weed Beach. And it's funny because when it was proposed to us, we were all in terms of putting a playground there that could be accessible by all the folks in Darien. And we were actually a little late because we would have even done a little bit more to kind of help fill out Weed Beach there. But the Playground by the Sound was a monster huge success.
There was a playground here originally, but it was in the backwoods and there were mosquitoes. It was very, very unappealing and no one wanted to go there. Building and designing and fundraising the playground definitely took a good amount of time.
We had to fund it. It was $250,000. We had an estimate given to us. We had to fundraise for that amount of money, and we started out with different ways of doing that.
One of my good friends did PR, one did the graphic design. I ended up being in charge of selling all of the bricks. We had someone doing the playground design, and we were all moms who were mothers of preschoolers who had just left the workforce.
We approached a lot of different big companies, and they said they couldn't fund us. We weren't really reaching the amount that we needed to reach. We decided to go ahead and ask the Darien Foundation for a large donation to kind of kickstart the campaign.
The Darien Foundation wanted us to expand the project a little bit because they felt like the playground was really only for the 2 to 6 year olds. Once the Darien Foundation agreed to pledge money, the town agreed that we could put swings in.
When other people heard that we had gotten money from the Darien Foundation, they were able to say, well, this is going to happen. This idea is actually going to come to fruition. So a lot of people then came on as funders. Local businesses came, more families decided to buy bricks because they knew that this playground was really going to happen. It wasn't just some pipe dream of 19 moms.
But one of the great aspects of the playground as we designed it was that we had it open to the beach because the kids love running back and forth to the water and then back to the playground.
One of my favorite parts of the playground is that it's in the shape of the nautical theme with the ship and the lighthouse, given that it's on the beach.
It's because of the playground that the parents come and really take the time and enjoy, have their coffee, and watch their kids grow up and have fun.
Playground by the Sound has been an important part of the community for 10 years. During our 3rd annual Weed Beach Fest this June, we made the playground kind of a center point of the actual event. In honor of the 10th birthday of the Playground by the Sound, the Darien Foundation hosted our Kids Cove, and for the first time we were able to offer it open and free to the public for over 400 kids to enjoy, and we are so thankful for the Darien Foundation.
The Playground by the Sound grant had a big impact on the Darien Foundation in 2 ways. Number one, it was one of our first big capital grants, and we were really excited to partner with the 4 moms that brought the project to us here at Weed Beach. The second thing is, it got people to feel in town that they could come to us and make presentations and bring their good ideas, and we would be receptive and open to hear those ideas. And it's created a great dialogue between the Darien community and the Darien Foundation.
People need to know that they can do something like this on their own, and with partnering with the Darien Foundation to actually do the funding made it happen.
Another one that comes to mind is the bird sanctuary up by the Darien Community Association. How did that one come to be?
That came in 2012 when they were looking to do something with that space. That was before my time, but the DF came in with, they needed a way to enclose it with the really high fencing. And I think the initial grant was $38,000. And then we did a follow-up grant. And that was like for the fencing and to help them with native plantings and kind of trail building and, setting aside an area like that to create a sanctuary, a nature preserve, it's not, there's a lot of other aspects that I learned a lot about this, and benches and things. And then in 2019, we gave them another grant, and it was about $18,000 to add that pondless waterfall, because they had found that the bird baths they'd put out for the birds and the bees and the butterflies, they really prefer running water. And if you're there and it's very still, you can see the butterflies and the birds and the different, flying creatures going and sitting on the wet stones. But we love that. We actually we've done a couple of events there. It's a really wonderful place that you can just either take your kids and let them run free because there's a giant gate, they can't get lost, or you could just go by yourself and have a quiet moment. So that's another example of something we felt that could, and it's wonderful. And, there are the DCA, anybody's allowed to go there. It's open year round, dawn to dusk. You don't have to be a DCA member. You just go to the back, and they've been really welcoming to the public with that.
The Darien Community Association is a 96-year-old nonprofit organization. We've been enriching the Darien community in a variety of ways. Our DCA Bird Sanctuary is a new addition to this long-standing community philanthropy. We had a group of volunteers in 2012 that had a wonderful vision for this 4-acre parcel of land. The Darien Foundation really helped make our vision a reality. We had a plan for this space. They made it actually work.
If you're in conservation, you realize that bird life has been reducing every year, and this was an attempt to do something about it.
The deer fencing, which was the first grant that we received in 2013, was really essential because we couldn't create what you see around us without keeping the deer out. That was really important. We came back to the Darien Foundation and we wanted to make an even more enhanced visitor experience. So they provided funding for additional plantings, benches.
Water in a bird sanctuary is absolutely critical. There is no stream that runs through this property. We were left with the dilemma of how to have a functioning bird bath.
In 2018, the Darien Foundation provided a beautiful new pondless waterfall. This is a place where people can come anytime with their families. We've had preschool groups come, groups that are interested in conservation and the environment and the opportunity to see a habitat in action.
iPhones and computers have captured our youth, and we are very keen to show them nature and the joy that comes from nature.
On behalf of the DCA board and all of our volunteers, I'd like to thank the Darien Foundation for their continued support. They've been a wonderful partner, and they've taken this vision that we've had for this property and helped make it a reality.
Sarah Woodberry and Ward Glassmeyer are joining us today on Community Matters, and as the backdrop indicates, they're with the Darien Foundation. There's a lot of philanthropy that happens in Darien. We've got the Darien Foundation, we've got the Community Fund, we've got individual nonprofits and non-government organizations that are doing their own fundraising as well too. Is there confusion when you're sending out solicitations asking for donations? Do you see yourself in competition with those other groups or working in synergy?
So I would say, I feel blessed to be in Darien in the fact that the community of Darien embraces all of these organizations. And yes, sometimes people ask me about the Mahjong classes at the Community Association, and I send them to that website, and vice versa with the Community Fund. They're a great organization, and we really, people sometimes confuse us, and what we say is, we do capital projects, we don't do operating grants, and ours are all in Darien because back when they were trying to get the parental support, the parents to help with the computer funding, and everyone was said, well, is this really going to go to my kid's school? And it just sort of evolved that way. And I know that the Community Fund, they give outside of town, but a lot of donors, I feel like we're in partnership. Like we will promote, for example, right now we're the lead donor of the Nature Center's capital campaign. We gave them the turtle habitat and the owl tree, and we have been helping them promote the campaign because we want them to be a success. We want the campaign to be successful. We try to promote all of the different nonprofits in Darien through our social media and share, what they're doing. We did a little fun post the other day about Person to Person's 50th anniversary of their Toy Stories. So we don't feel in competition, and the EDs in Darien meet, I would say monthly, every month and a half, and we're very collaborative. And I think we're just very fortunate to be in a town where it's like that abundance mentality that people support many different organizations. So we want them to thrive. And often, Ward can jump in here because this is something that when we award a grant, we often will ask them to go out and do a fundraising component because we want them to continue to engage their donors and not say, oh, the Darien Foundation. I mean, do you want to talk about that at all? Or I mean, it's just
yeah, I can add. I mean, what's interesting with a lot of these fundraisers, you can go back and look at, especially like the Darien Athletic Foundation when they started their big raise, which ended up being, 10 million plus. They came to us first, thinking that we would kind of put a stamp on that. So when Mark Maybell, Pete Graham, and Jen Montanaro went out to embark on a huge task there, and they did an amazing job, they came to us thinking that we would get behind it, which we did because we thought it was a great idea. And then with us getting behind it, that might create a little momentum for them, which we also hope it did. And so we're always working hand in hand with these different organizations, and we want them to be successful. And we like it when they come to us early because then we can have potentially a little say in what the end product, if not a lot of say in what the end product looks like, and then work with them to, help in the fundraising process. So it's a real partnership, between us and these organizations around town. It's really worked out well.
So, Ward, for the non-finance guys and gals that are watching this program, I think Sarah mentioned the difference between capital equipment and operating funds. Could you explain what that is for the lay audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the easy way to think of it is a capital good is something that is a real product, a real something that we're giving to somebody, whether it's that video wall, whether it's helping with the fields. Operational could just be money to help run your business. Like we can't fund, something that's just helping them operate, right? We're trying to do real cutting edge, neat, expansionary, projects to help organizations kind of go from A to B or A to C. Like we're doing this really neat, tween center at the Darien Library, which is going to be really cool when it's done. It's totally going to be built way differently than you've ever thought of a library, because they're trying to make it appealing for that tween teen age group to come there and do their work. And so we're going to be funding actual, hard goods that are going to be on that floor there. We're not going to fund
The staff.
the staff and everybody else that, needs to be compensated there. So,
Another example might be like at home in Darien, we've bought 3 of the 4 automobiles that they use, but we wouldn't fund a grant for the drivers. I think they would go to either the town or the state, or the community fund, I believe also supports them, but would be more in an operational way to fund some of their programming. So we don't fund programming.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the work the Darien Foundation has done over the past 20 years. If you live here, our work has likely impacted you, your family, and your neighbors. Since our founding in 1998, we've provided more than $4.2 million in grants, which create opportunity for Darien's youth, support our town's safety and security services, and enhance the overall quality of life in Darien through collaboration with community organizations.
As a family that's relatively new to town and planning to make this our long-term home, I'm grateful to see my community and my family benefit from the Darien Foundation. When I learned that the edible gardens at the elementary schools, the generator at the Darien Library, and the playground by the Sound were all funded by the same organization, I raised my hand to get involved. I'm proud to support an organization whose impact I see every day in our schools and throughout our community.
So far this year, the Darien Foundation has awarded $138,000 in grants to enhance our community. In 2013, the Darien Community Association opened a 4-acre bird sanctuary thanks to a grant from the Darien Foundation. The serene wooded glade has attracted numerous birds, bees, and butterflies, as well as more than 200 school children and other visitors. This year, they added a new pondless waterfall, as well as more trees, plantings, signage, and benches. In 1976, the Darien Historical Society and Darien High School students built the Middlesex, an authentic replica of the 18th century whaleboats. These were used by local patriots in the Revolutionary War to fight the British Navy in Long Island Sound. The Darien Historical Society is restoring this artifact so that it can be part of Darien's upcoming 2020 bicentennial celebrations. The live turtle exhibit continues to be the most popular attraction for children at the Darien Nature Center, which welcomes over 16,000 visits annually. A new forest and pond ecosystem will allow visitors to engage with several species of turtle that will live together in a 50-square-foot habitat that resembles their natural home.
This has been such a special collaboration between the Darien Nature Center and the Darien Foundation, because not only have they provided generous funding to us, but we've been able to meet with members of the foundation and our staff and talk about what is going to make the very best exhibit for the town of Darien, and we've really added value to the process by doing that.
The vast majority of food distributed by Person to Person is donated from local suppliers and businesses. A group of dedicated volunteers drives the brand new cargo van on these daily rounds, which each year account for more than $100,000 in collected food. Person to Person also has an extensive youth program, offering many Darien High School and middle school students their first experiences at volunteering.
Thanks to the Darien Foundation, we have a beautiful new van. We're very excited about it, not only because it's new and it's safe for those who are riding in it and driving and going to pick up all the food, but also it speaks to the support of the Darien Foundation, as well as speaks to what Person to Person does in the community.
For more than 20 years, the Darien Foundation has been investing in Darien, offering our town's youth, emergency services, and community organizations an avenue to pursue innovation and excellence. Collaboration with you, the members of our community, has been vital to our mission. Thank you for supporting the Darien Foundation. We are building a better Darien together.
Our mission is to provide grants for these capital initiatives, technology projects and our three pillars are youth, and that really started as the schools, but we've expanded it so that we can do, say, a grant for this nature center, or maybe it would be under the umbrella of something we do for the library. And then safety and security, because we do a lot of grants for the fire and the police and Post 53, and then everything else we call quality of life, like any grant that we're doing, like the pods we did at the library, which have been extremely successful for them. They've had over 10,000 bookings in a year of the pods. And it was just a need that popped up after the pandemic. More people are working from home and they need a space either to meet or have like a quiet Zoom. When we do something like pods at the library, that's something that teens use, that's something that adults use. At Home in Darien is something that we really want to support seniors and support Darien as a multi-generational community. So, cars for At Home in Darien, or we did technology for the senior center, that kind of thing. But knowing that not only does it benefit the seniors, but it also benefits the town to have seniors engaged, and same with youth when we're doing things that are youth oriented. The process really is people can always reach out to me. I'm really the first step. And on our website, it's like contact us. And then if anybody signs up for our email blast, or even on social media, you can always just like put a comment or a ping and say, I want to touch base. We typically want to talk about it first, because sometimes I've had people write like a big, long proposal for a program, and we don't do programming. So I hate to put them to work. And sometimes people will come to us like with an idea. Actually, the way we got going with the Darien Nature Center is their HVAC, their air conditioning unit had conked out, and they called me up and said, is this something you would do? And I said, we typically don't do maintenance-y things, because we'd probably be out of business now if we were doing that. We do kind of take them to the next level. And so I said, well, let's talk about what else you have on your radar. And they're like, well, we really want to do this habitat for the turtles.
The Darien Nature Center is a treasure in our community. It's a hub of activity where families come to enjoy nature, go on nature walks, and mostly to learn about animals and how we cohabitate and live together. Thanks to the Darien Foundation, we're able to launch a new initiative to renovate all of our animal enclosures, starting with the New England Pond Ecosystem exhibit, which the foundation has funded and which will be the home for our turtles, who are currently our most popular exhibit.
What we wanted and what we really succeeded in doing with this exhibit is to give our visitors an example of what these animals would look like in their natural habitats.
We reviewed a lot of vendors and went all over to see the exhibits that had been done, and we ended up with this amazing vendor, and he has done work for the Central Park Zoo and the Norwalk Aquarium. And really the work, it's just phenomenal. Seeing this project start to finish has been incredible. This was a $50,000 grant that we gave the Darien Nature Center, and it ended up being an amazing collaborative project between the foundation and the Nature Center.
We've been able to meet with members of the foundation and our staff and talk about what is going to make the very best exhibit for the town of Darien.
Enrichment is a big field now with zoos, nature centers, anyone that house animals for visitors, that the animals be provided enrichment, so to keep them happy and their minds engaged. And this totally does. We've seen all new behaviors in our turtles that we never saw before, and they're having a great time in their new pond.
Our kids love the turtles, and this exhibit is going to allow them to see them in their natural ecosystem and engage with them in a whole different way. I think the Darien Foundation is a central organization in town, showing that the community cares, and the community is willing to give, and the community is willing to support the kind of work that we're doing here and in other organizations in town.
I really believe this is going to enrich our community and bring so much to our wonderful town of Darien.
That's a lot of times how grants have come our way. People reach out, and sometimes what they're asking for doesn't fit the parameters, but then we talk through what's on their radar. but we talk through with them first and just get a sense of what the project is, and then we run it by the board, and then if the board agrees, then we go through a proposal process, and we really do work hand in hand and try to help them put their best foot forward. We have them give us a draft, and they're not judged by the draft. We're like, oh, you mentioned this in our conversation, add that in here, or you want a little bit more background, or we want 2 more quotes, or whatever we can do to help them beef up the proposal before they actually make it in person. So by the time it gets to the board, at least 3 or 4 to 5 board members have gone through it a few times and given them, oh, we're going to ask this question, we're going to ask that question. And so it is a process, but it's a partnership process. It's not like, oh, a rough draft is terrible. It's more like, hey, this is great. Don't forget to add these slides or whatever that we saw. So it's actually, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and to give a little plug to the board, which I think is
huge plug to the board.
Yeah, monster plug. Anyway, what's really interesting is our board works really hard, and we have an amazing board of just very thoughtful, unique people that have all these different backgrounds. And what Sarah will help put together is we'll get a group back to the Nature Center. So there's a group that will just focus on the Nature Center, maybe 4, 5, 6 people. And we do this for every grant. And they'll be there to kind of shepherd it through the process. But most important, they're there all the way through the finish, right? So I want people to really understand that not only do we spend months thinking about what's the appropriate grants to get behind, and having not just the whole board, but even a group that digs really deep, but that group sticks with it until completion. And so it's work. It's work to be on our board, and people get into the process and get very involved in these different projects. And beyond that, people have roles within the board that aren't even just grant related, but helping us think through, what's going on in the school systems or what's going on with emergency services, et cetera. And we often have people on the board that have expertise in each of these categories. So it's a very unique group of people.
Ward Glassmeyer and Sarah Woodberry are joining us from the Darien Foundation today on Community Matters. So you anticipated my next question was, great proposal. I bring it before the board. You give me a thumbs up and you grant whatever money it's going to be. Do you follow up to make sure that I've bought the thing we said we were going to buy, or that it's working, or is there a follow-up process to see that your investment is actually paying off?
Yes. So for the most part, and you may remember this, but we pay the vendors. So we pay the bills partly because of, making sure that the money goes to the right place, but also partly because then it's not a burden that, the organization has to come with the money and we reimbursement. We almost never just hand someone a check. And we are publicly audited every year, and our auditors go through all our grant folders and they see the grant. I document all the emails back and forth, and we have all the payments. Everything is, we have a bookkeeper and a treasurer who go through and make sure, that everything, stacks up. At each board meeting, our treasurer goes through what grants, where we were with each grant, what payments were just made, how far along we are with it. So the board is, everyone's sort of up to date on where we are with all the grants. And we do everything we can to document, make it easier for the grantee, but also make sure we do see where each dollar goes. So
how much money have you raised and donated over the years?
So we've donated we've invested in Darien over $7 million in grants now, and over 1.8 of that has been gone directly to the DPS for projects.
The school system. So Ward, I guess you're constantly fundraising, looking for contributions, or do you do specific campaigns around specific grant requests?
Yeah. So that's good. So we don't do a lot of project financing. So the fundraising is really more on a holistic basis. And what we love is to find families that really embrace what we're doing. And so we have a number of families that have made meaningful gifts over a number of years that come back year after year. And we have a really nice partnership with them. One of the areas that we've been really focused on the last few years, and it's more than just a few years, is getting out there early and getting to know new people that have come to town and introducing them to what the Darien Foundation is all about. Not that we're necessarily looking for money. I think we have a really great relationship with the town in the sense that there are people we ask for money, don't get me wrong, but there are a lot of people that we go to, whether it's some of the new people coming to town. Even our fundraiser is not one of those fundraisers where you walk in the door and people are asking for money from when you get in to when you get out. It's more of, hey, if you decide to come to the fundraiser and give a donation to come, we're going to make it a lot of fun. We're going to educate you on what we're doing, and hopefully you have a good feeling about what the Darien Foundation is all about. And so we're hoping to kind of grow, with these people that come to town. And, because what happens is some of the, donor base eventually, moves away or whatever happens. And so you got to make sure you've got donors there to kind of fill in those gaps. But I think we're doing a much, more holistic, better job. And Sarah's been really thoughtful about fundraising, and we're reaching out to lots of different people, and it's been very successful for us.
Do any of your donors come to you saying, I'd like to spend or invest in X? And you go, well, we don't have any projects on X right now, but how about Y or Z?
So for the most part, no. In Corbin Cares, when we were doing that, we actually set up a special page on our website so you could donate to just our Corbin Cares our Corbin Cares grant. So that, and actually most people donated to us as well, but so that, and we tracked that in our accounting. It was tagged and we showed it to our auditors, and we made sure that we paid the whole thing out to Corbin Cares.
So after 27 years in the community, you've got something of a reputation, and some of the good works that you've done are known to people, and they basically, I'm just assuming this is the case, hey, I trust the Darien Foundation. They're doing good stuff, so I'm going to, make a donation to them. As opposed to, why donate to the Darien Foundation instead of to the specific nonprofit that you might actually be looking to help?
Yeah, I can jump into that because I've had a number of conversations with different people. If you have a nonprofit or a number of nonprofits that you're really behind or really into, you should give to them directly. I'm all for that, right? Give to as many of them as you want. But what often happens, and these are the conversations I'm having, people have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever it is nonprofits they're really excited about, but they know there's more things happening in town. And so they're trusting us to make some of those decisions. And I think it makes it easier for a lot of people, right? Some people are like, wow, there's so many different organizations. These are the 5 I'm really close to, but we're going to give you a nice check, and we're going to trust you over the next 12 months or longer to put that money to work in organizations that really need it. And people feel good about that. So again, I'll say it again, people should give to all the organizations that they are behind, but we're here to do some of the things that, we're here helping these organizations do things that often they couldn't do without our backing. And I think people, respect that with what we're doing, but some people look at us as a way to maybe give out gifts around town without them having to do the due diligence on all the different organizations themselves.
And do you ever fear that organizations will, for example, town stuff? I mean, we're in the budget cycle now, and departments, the fire departments, police department might be going to town going, I need X amount of money to get this kind of technology. And then somebody on the Board of Selectmen or Board of Finance says, oh, go ask the Darien Foundation for that money instead. Do you feel like you're kind of like the backstop for what should be taxpayer investment?
No, well, that's a really good question, and it definitely comes up in our conversations. And so we do meet with John Zakrotsky and different elected officials. I think, we've met already a couple of times with Dr. Byrne just to welcome him to town.
The new superintendent of schools.
Yeah, the new superintendent of schools. We have an ongoing dialogue with the police and the fire department. And they, we don't cover, we do look at a project, sometimes people will come to us and say, we need new copy machines or something like that. And we have very specific discussion with them about things we don't cover. And, we don't want to be a backstop, and we wouldn't. Our board is very discerning for items that really should be covered by the school budget or, the police budget. But we do want to be able to maybe come in with something that maybe it's so cool and exciting, but they're busy, that they've got things they have to pay for, that we could come with something that is augmenting and adds an extra level, takes the organization or the department to another level. Most towns don't have a Darien Foundation. They don't really have, I would say we're kind of like the MacArthur Genius Grant or something of Darien. Like there's not a lot of towns or communities where you can say, wow, we have this really cool big idea. We don't have the funding for it. Where do we get it? And Darien, that's us. So please come to us.
So Ward, when you're working the country club circuit, meeting the new folks who have come to town, that's not your only source of income. I guess you're still looking for donations from our viewers and other people in town whose lives may have been touched by work you've done in the past. You'll take small donations, not just the six-figure numbers.
100%. And we're behind everybody, and we'd love everyone to contribute to our efforts. And yes, you're absolutely right. And we have some large donors, we have very small donors, and every donor means just as much to us, right? If you're there giving, $25 a year and you give it to us for 20 years, we love you just as much as someone that's giving. We have a few of
those, and we sent them notes.
we're big on loyalty, and I've done a lot of fundraising for my undergrad and for my business school. And it's funny because participation is everything, right? We love the bigger gifts, don't get me wrong, but if you participate consistently, it just creates just this unique bond. And Sarah and I write a lot of notes to people, and we tell them over and over again, we just so appreciate what you're doing for us and for Darien, right? Anything they're doing for us, they're doing for the town.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we've got, I think, a very good relationship with our donors. We're always trying to make it better. And we're always trying to get to know more people, right? Because there are people that cycle in and out of town. It's hard to get to know everybody, but we're working on it.
And I would say, the $25 donors, I've had people give us like $10. I mean, these are people who probably who I know actually, because they've told me they give $25 to like every organization in town because they want to support everybody. And by the time you get through that ends up being a very big number. So, and then to clarify with the newcomers, we're not shaking down new people who move to Darien. It's more about a messaging. Like people come to town and they're like, what's the Darien Foundation? Are you run by the town? People come to town and there's so much going on that it's more of just like, hey, we're all part of this community. So.
Well, if you're watching this program, you're watching it in no small part thanks to the Darien Foundation and the monies that they have given to Darien TV 79 over the years. So again, thank you very much for that. Stay tuned. The credits are going to have all the contact information, whether it's to float a good idea, ask for support, or write a check and make a donation as well too. All that information is coming up. So grab that proverbial pencil and paper, and you can do whatever it is you'd like to do to say thank you to the Darien Foundation. So I want to thank our two guests on the program, Sarah Woodberry, Executive Director, Ward Glassmeyer is the Chairman of the Darien Foundation. Thank you for all you do for Darien, and thank you for being on the program today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us. We always love to see what's going on TV 79. So
excellent. And thank you, our faithful viewers. You have watched yet another edition of Community Matters.